Joba, Cuba, Farah.
Here on the steps of the Colony House in Newport, Rhode Island, you are listening to Hidden History.
Buta, Burga, Yala, Morawa, Muwuri, Simbo, Bura, Yiri. Each one of them is appraised at a certain value.
Yes, these people were enslaved.
Kuba, Kari, Kuda, Faria, Kuriba, and Puto.
Adding Young and Dura, it's 20 names in all. A very rare find, according to historian Peter Fay.
In 25 years, I've never found a slave sale that actually lists the African names.
To respect a person's chosen name is to acknowledge their self-determination, which is why a second document tries to erase those names from history.
What happened during the sale is they lost their names. They only list whether it's a man, a boy, or woman, and they have no name.
In contrast, there is one name associated with our slave ledger that may sound very familiar.
Peter Faneuil was the one who owned this slave voyage, and these are the people that were brought by Peter Faneuil's slave ship to Newport.
The namesake of Boston's popular Faneuil Hall was a slave trader. The debate around that has raged for decades. But what brings us to Newport is a movement to shine a light on this city's own hidden history.
People often think of Newport as the location of all the mansions, but there's a much deeper and older history that's seldom really dug into, and that is the history of the slave trade. Almost 40% of slave ships that were American-owned came right out of here, and they produced a total of 739 slave voyages.
I remember the first time that I walked into this building.
Miss Victoria Johnson has deep roots in Newport.
I am the first African-American female principal of a high school in the state of Rhode Island.
But it wasn't until she was approached by Peter Fay that Johnson learned how much her knowledge of Newport had huge holes when it came to the city's slave history.
Information was available. It's just undigging that information, the erasure of that information. And fortunately for us, we had the historian that was able to do that.
With a look out across Newport Harbor, it makes sense that this early colonial port, like many others along 18th century shipping routes, would have ties to the triangle trade. But very little evidence of that past remains.
This is the home of the American slave trade. Where are all the monuments? Where is all the artifacts and the evidence and the public displays and discussion of this?
This question from historian Peter Fay sparked a second question for Miss Victoria Johnson.
He asked me if I would be the founder of the Newport Middle Passage Port Marker Project. And I said to him, only if you become my co-founder.
Together, they started the process of bringing a permanent memorial to Liberty Square, which will be a place of learning and reflection for current and future generations.
I want them to walk away with knowing what the past was, knowing what the present is, and how they can make the future even better. That's the purpose. But we have to unearth that past first.
Separated by more than 10,000 miles, the seaside town of Warren, Rhode Island would seem to have few connections to a shipwreck off the coast of Patagonia. But Douglas Hinman, formerly of the Warren Preservation Society, can confirm that history has no borders, and this is a whale of a tale.
There are two periods in Warren where they built whaling ships. One was in the late 1700s, picked up again in the 1820s to 1860s. There was great demand for whale oil at that point.
It was during this second phase of whaling that the Dolphin was built. The 111-foot vessel was considered among the fastest of its kind.
I've opened to the Dolphin just to give you an idea.
Okay.
And it's the whole history of who was the master, who built it.
So much is known about this particular vessel because of the work of one person, Walter A. Nebaker, a former naval man who spent much of his retirement passionately documenting the whaling history of Warren. In fact, he literally wrote the book on it.
How much time do you think he invested in tracking?
His whole life. He just was voracious.
Unfortunately, Nebeker passed in 2013, but his manuscript, which was never published, became a key resource when Argentine scientists traced artifacts from a 19th century wreck back to Warren in 2006.
Kind of a slam dunk because we've documented it was wrecked in that harbor, and they found it in that harbor.
But without this documentation, it would have been harder to prove.
Absolutely.
Though final confirmation wouldn't be announced until 2022, a Warren Times-Gazette 2012 article offered Nebeker validation while he was still alive.
History can really disappear if there aren't people on top of it, and Walter was just one of those people.
The names of enslaved Africans were often changed by slave owners, but a visit to God's Little Acre, a colonial African burial ground in Rhode Island, reveals that some continue to use their African names in private. These names survive on gravestones carved by an enslaved stonecutter, Pompey Stevens. Still ahead, timekeepers, past and present.